Okay, I've got to prove. Let's go and have a look. Let's go and have a look at this stuff. Okay, so lots of stuff changed, as you can see, from last week. Obviously, Project Utah now in here. Always an exciting step when we finish that painting and polishing stage and get the shells in here, and we can start looking forward to bolting shiny bits on. Unnecessarily in the case of the headlights, but it's always that exciting bit where you just can't help putting something shiny on to give you a glimpse of that end result that we're all looking forward to. So we're going to be smashing on with the build of that. Looking forward to seeing that progress. Kaiser II at the road testing stage, so just been taking that out on the road, listing any issues that I'm not happy with on it, and then bringing it back, resolving those issues, taking it out again. It's pretty much just repeating that process until I'm happy that the car's 100% and ready to hand over to the customer, which, if we go well, might be a Christmas present, but we'll see how we go on that. The other one over my shoulder here, obviously the eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed that the Escort was probably in the background on one of the last video we did. So the Escort's in for some winter revisions, basically. One thing that both ourselves and Gordon were never really happy with on it was the refinement of the rear end in terms of driveline noise transmitted into the body. It's not horrific, it's just not how we would want it to be. When we designed the rear subframe on this, we designed the differential to be an actual structural part of that frame, which is amazing from a packaging point of view and a strength point of view. But it does mean that the 4 bushes that mount the subframe to the body are the only things that isolate the differential from the body in terms of noise. So what we've decided to do is redesign the rear subframe so that although the subframe is still only attached with those 4 polyurethane bushes, so the movement in the rear suspension doesn't change. We don't introduce more movement in the rear suspension. The differential itself is then rubber bushed into that subframe. So the theory is, the hope is, that we'll have exactly the same precision in the rear suspension, which is fantastic. You know, the car is amazing to drive. But we want to just try and bring down the amount of driveline noise that's transmitted into the car. So hopefully that will work. I think next week I'll probably be testing that with the new setup. So fingers crossed. Stratos, I guess last time they were probably swearing at the thermostat housing on that after we did the first run up on it, and it got a leak around an O-ring on the thermostat housing, which with the MR2 gearbox is not possible to remove without virtually destructing the whole car. It basically looked like a landmine had gone off under it, because you have to pull the engine right up, take the gearbox off, and supercharger and charge cooler all has to come off and that. We got that back together and that was a success, no leak on there. The only other sort of initial niggle that we noticed on it, there was a bit of a belt train noise on it, which we couldn't really quite pinpoint, but it sounded like it was probably coming from the cam belt tensioner. And there was also a notable amount of belt flap, which we weren't really happy with in that cam belt train. Now on this we used an upgraded cam belt tensioner, which is like a billet back plate, billet pulley with a double roller bearing in it, and it's fixed, so you've set the tension and fix it solid. Whereas the originals, you set the tension, but it's got a sprung floating pulley, so it essentially remains an actively moving spring. So we decided to revert back to the original equipment tensioner on it, which also involved taking quite a lot of things apart, but thankfully that resolved the problem. So belt train noise gone, really happy with the cam belt now. So much for off-the-shelf upgrade parts, although we should know better really. And yeah, no leak, so we're pretty good on that. Next thing is going to be another visit from Chris at Northampton Motorsport to carry on the calibration work. Now we're happy it can be run for a while. And yeah, we'll be hopefully be able to show you, if not in the next couple of weeks, certainly in the new year, some blipping footage of that, which is, I know, what everybody really wants to hear. So, right, let's go this way, metalwork. I'm going to have a drink. I even managed to do a sip without going afterwards, which is remarkable. There we go. There's a subframe, revised subframe that Nat's been working on, which hopefully will be back in the car fairly soon, albeit in this bare metal state just for testing initially. Follow me this way. So, Chevette. Javelin. So Chevette, yeah, we've been doing loads of metalwork on this week. I think last time we were just on the roll cage. So after we've completely finished that roll cage work, we moved on to transmission tunnel and seat mounts. So transmission tunnel, we wanted to enlarge that, make it a more uniform shape, just because we have no need for it to be the original shape. And having more space around the prop shaft for the centre bearing for the two-piece prop that we're going to have on there is handy, and also for exhaust clearance. You'll see we've done a little additional sort of section to the tunnel on the far side there, so we can run the prop and the exhaust down there, but not so much of an exhaust tunnel that it encroaches into the seat space. And then that tunnel then flares out into the diff area to give us loads of room for increased axle travel. So because it's a two-piece prop, there'll be a bearing somewhere around this point, and then the prop, when the axle is at full bump, angles up quite heavily. So it's just to allow for that movement of the axle at the back there. And to be honest, because there's no back seat, why compromise on space when you're working on the car underneath? It's just nice to have loads of clearance there. So that's that. And with that done, we've also mounted the Atlas axle in there. Reason for doing that at this stage is so we could move it all the way up and down through its travel and just check for clearance on everything on the car. We're going to make a couple of little adjustments to the shell underneath, just behind where the link box ends, for the top of the trailing arm brackets, just to go up into the cross member that sits across the car there. There's a double skin underneath which we're going to remove, but other than that, that all looks great. Then we moved on to seat mounts. So Scott's fabricated some essentially box sections that run across with threaded inserts welded into them that these side mounts bolt down to. Quite a lot of attention on that was paid to try and get the seat as low as we possibly can within the car, just because these aren't as big a car as you would think in terms of headroom, and especially when you've got a helmet on, you want plenty of clearance on the cage as well. So we've put quite a lot of effort into that. I mean, traditionally you might put two tubes running across with brackets off those to attach the mounts to, but where we wanted the seat to be, the tube would have literally been on the floor. And if you have the tube on the floor, to stop it vibrating on the floor, you've got to stitch weld it to the floor, and then you end up with a sort of little awkward to get to gap underneath the tube, which is very difficult to get paint into. Hence the decision to run box sections across there, because they'll be much easier to paint. Same on the passenger side, all done. And then we've moved on to pedals. So we've done a very similar setup there with two fabricated cross rails with threaded inserts in. There'll then be a panel which Scott's just been templating. It's going to be laser cut in aluminium. That will bolt down to there with countersunk bolts that sit completely flush with it, and then there'll be a couple of different positions for the pedal box to bolt down to. It's a floor mount pedal box, Tilton one, with the cylinders back under your heels. And yeah, we'll put a couple of sets of holes in there so you can basically put the pedal box in two different positions to suit your preferred driving position. So that's all looking really good, and that floor plate will extend right back to here. We'll have some grip tape on that, just to give it a nice flat floor, a bit more visually pleasing, as well as being a mounting point for the pedal box. So that's going really well. That'll probably be the next stage on there, and then we'll move on to mounts for the electric power steering unit that will be mounted off the roll cage. We've also got to do this cross member that's going to join the link boxes and cage mounts all the way across behind the seat here. They're probably the next steps on the shelf. And actually at that point, there's still a few details to go, but we've definitely broken the back of it then. So yeah, really happy with how that's going. What else have we been up to? The Mustang. So I'll skim past the CV8. Last time I think we were just brutally stripping the outer layers of paint off. We've since moved on to the more detailed sanding and getting that back to its original fiberglass. And we've done that also on all the panels. Chassis is well through build on this. If you haven't watched the previous ones, the chassis, we're essentially having a fully restored chassis built by Ron Clay, who's just getting into the latter stages of that now. So I'm hoping maybe next week we might see that. So that's where we're at with that. And finally, Mustang, which is in Gaz's domain. I think last time we were just waiting to get the roof on, and it had been a bit of a drawn out process because the drip rails these are actually sandwiched in. They're quite a big section beneath the roof skin that's attached to this, and you have to fit those to the roof frame first and then put the roof skin over the top. And it seems that coupe Mustang drip rails are not available new, but the fastback ones are. So we thought, well, the fastback ones are probably the same cross-sectional profile. We can probably take fastback ones and reshape them to suit the coupe. So we ordered some, and they turned out to be a different cross-sectional profile. And then while we were scratching our heads trying to work out how to solve that problem, completely by chance, we noticed that the 68 Camaro we've got through there has exactly the same cross-sectional profile on the drip rails. So we ordered up some Camaro drip rails and reshaped those, and that's what these are. These are reshaped Camaro drip rails. So we got those welded on. That allowed us to get the roof on. And then we've been working on the lead work. And obviously, as you can see, Gaz is well into the initial filler work and block sanding stage. So one of the hardest parts on this sort of car, especially with new panels that aren't a particularly great fit, and to be honest, they weren't when they were new, is getting all the gaps and everything to meet up in a pleasing fashion with nice even gaps. So a lot of that initial work is leading shuts. So Gaz would have leaded down the front of the quarter here to get the shut to the door nice. There's some lead work around the boot aperture, as well as lead work on the original panel joins. So these, I think they call them sail panels, these C-pillars, as I would call them, are a separate panel to the roof. So there's a join here and there's a join down here. And they're originally lead filled in the factory, which is what we've done. We've obviously now done a skim over there to start doing the initial filler work on it. But yeah, it's really taking shape. We're waiting for a couple of parts. We've got a new headlamp surround coming for one side because we realised recently that was accident damaged. It's a cast aluminium piece, amazingly, and the top of it's cracked off. So we're just getting one of those. But yeah, it's that slogging away stage, isn't it, guys? Slog, material on, material off. And yeah, it should. Pluses with it being new panels, although they're not an amazingly good fit when it comes to the gaps, they are at least reasonably straight in most areas. So yeah, it's going to be a reasonably lengthy process, but it could be worse. And yeah, that's probably where we're at this week.